Beloved chosen one, listen. Time is no longer on your side. Heaven has issued a final signal, and there are only 4 minutes left in the Spirit. These are not regular minutes, these are eternal ones. Moments pregnant with divine weight. If you've ever felt like you were born for something more, if you've ever sensed the invisible hand of destiny steering you through chaos, then know this. This message is not an accident. It is a divine interruption, a heavenly pause. All of heaven is standing still. For you, you are not scrolling by chance. God orchestrated this exact second because the clock of mercy is nearing its last tick. There is a signal, a release from the throne room that only those truly chosen can sense in their spirit. You feel it, don't you? That trembling in your chest, that weight behind your eyes, that holy tension rising in your gut. That is the signal. God's chosen ones are not average. You are not ordinary. You were never made to blend in, fit in, or hide in the crowd. You have always been set apart. And now, the separation is becoming final. This last signal is not for the crowd. It's for the remnant. For the one who has been walking quietly in obedience while others laughed. For the soul who has cried in silence and warred in the Spirit with no recognition. You are the reason heaven is speaking now. As we read in Isaiah 43, when you walk through fire, you will not be burned. You didn't survive the fire because you were strong. You survived because you were chosen. Many walked through what you did and didn't make it. But you came out with oil on your life. Your scars are anointed. Your tears are prophetic. And this is your moment. Do not let these final minutes pass like any other. You have entered the zone of divine consequence. What you do with this message will echo into every corner of your destiny. This is not entertainment. This is not content. This is holy communication. Spirit to spirit. Heaven to your bones. There is something you need to do. Not later. Not someday. Now, let go of the sin that still clings to your spirit. Release the fear that's been whispering lies in your ear. You are not unworthy. You are not too far gone. You have not missed it. This message is proof. The door is still open, but not for long. And now, God is watching not just what you believe, but how you respond. When Jesus walked past the blind, they cried out. When he passed the woman with the issue of blood, she reached out. Your response to this word is spiritual warfare. Don't let silence speak for you. Don't let passivity rob you of what has been prepared for your name alone. Only the marked ones will feel this. Only the anointed will hear beyond the words. This signal is spiritual, coded in obedience and urgency. You've been called to step forward, not step back. This is not your time to question if you're ready. This is your moment to move, ready or not. This is the beginning of the end for the lukewarm, for the fence-sitters, for the spiritually sleepy. God is not speaking to crowds anymore. He is whispering to the chosen. And you, yes, you, are one of them. It's time to awaken, to rise, to take back what the enemy has tried to suffocate in you. You carry more than talent. You carry oil. You carry prophecy. You carry the answer to someone else's deliverance. But none of it matters if you don't move in this moment. You've been asking God for a sign. This is it. And it's the final one. Beloved chosen one, listen. Time is no longer on your side. Heaven has issued a final signal, and there are only 4 minutes left in the Spirit. These are not regular minutes, these are eternal ones. Moments pregnant with divine weight. If you've ever felt like you were born for something more, if you've ever sensed the invisible hand of destiny steering you through chaos, then know this. This message is not an accident. It is a divine interruption, a heavenly pause. All of heaven is standing still. For you, you are not scrolling by chance. God orchestrated this exact second because the clock of mercy is nearing its last tick. There is a signal, a release from the throne room that only those truly chosen can sense in their spirit. You feel it, don't you? That trembling in your chest, that weight behind your eyes, that holy tension rising in your gut. That is the signal. God's chosen ones are not average. You are not ordinary. You were never made to blend in, fit in, or hide in the crowd. You have always been set apart. And now, the separation is becoming final. This last signal is not for the crowd. It's for the remnant. For the one who has been walking quietly in obedience while others laughed. For the soul who has cried in silence and warred in the spirit with no recognition. You are the reason heaven is speaking now. As we read in Isaiah 43, when you walk through fire, you will not be burned. You didn't survive the fire because you were strong. You survived because you were chosen. Many walked through what you did and didn't make it. But you came out with oil on your life. Your scars are anointed. Your tears are prophetic. And this is your moment. Do not let these final minutes pass like any other. You have entered the zone of divine consequence. What you do with this message will echo into every corner of your destiny. This is not entertainment. This is not content. This is holy communication. Spirit to spirit. Heaven to your bones. There is something you need to do. Not later. Not someday. Now. Let go of the sin that still clings to your spirit. Release. The fear that's been whispering lies in your ear. You are not unworthy. You are not too far gone. You have not missed it. This message is proof. The door is still open, but not for long. And now God is watching not just what you believe, but how you respond. When Jesus walked past the blind, they cried out. When he passed the woman with the issue of blood, she reached out. Your response to this word is spiritual warfare. Don't let silence speak for you. Don't let passivity rob you of what has been prepared for your name alone. Only the marked ones will feel this. Only the anointed will hear beyond the words. This signal is spiritual, coded in obedience and urgency. You've been called to step forward, not step back. This is not your time to question if you're ready. This is your moment to move. Ready or not. This is the beginning of the end for the lukewarm, for the fence-sitters, for the spiritually sleepy. God is not speaking to crowds anymore. He is whispering to the chosen, and you. Yes, you are one of them. It's time to awaken, to rise, to take back what the enemy has tried to suffocate in you. You carry more than talent. You carry oil. You carry prophecy. You carry the answer to someone else's deliverance. But none of it matters if you don't move in this moment. You've been asking God for a sign. This is it. And it's the final one. Comment 999 below if your spirit knows this is for you. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, so this divine signal can reach every other chosen one still trapped in delay. You were never random. Not a moment of your life has been unaccounted for. Before your first breath, before your name was spoken aloud by human lips, you were marked in the courts of heaven. Long before anyone saw your potential, before teachers gave you grades or people gave you labels, The God of all creation had already stamped you with his seal. Marked, set apart, chosen. Even now, your spirit knows this is true. It's why you never fit in. It's why the normal route never worked. You tried to blend in, but there was always something about you, something different. The light in your eyes, the weight in your words, the depth of your heart. You carried the aroma of the sacred, even when you didn't understand it. Others sensed it, too. That's why they targeted you. That's why they feared you. That's why they rejected you. Not because you were weak, but because your spirit bore the mark of a future they could not understand. This is not flattery. This is revelation. The reason certain rooms couldn't hold you was because you carried the weight of future nations on your shoulders. You weren't overlooked by accident. God hid you. You weren't forgotten, you were preserved. What looked like rejection was protection. What felt like abandonment was divine insulation. Some have tried to dim their light to survive. Others ran from the anointing because they thought it would destroy them. But you, even in your darkest hour, you couldn't escape the whisper, that divine reminder in your gut that said, you were born for more, and you were. This world never made sense because you weren't made from it. You are from heaven's dimension, planted into Earth's timeline to fulfill a specific assignment no one else can carry. It was declared in Jeremiah 1, Woo! Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. You were ordained before you were seen. That dream, that spiritual weight, that fire inside you that refuses to die, it's not ambition. It's remembrance. Your spirit is remembering the vow you made in eternity, before your body ever hit this earth. That is why the warfare has been personal. The devil doesn't waste time attacking the average. He sends his fiercest resistance against the most dangerous. And you, chosen one, are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Not because you are loud, not because you are seen, but because when you finally rise, others will too. Because when you speak, things shift. Because when you pray, heaven responds. Because when you obey, demons flee. The enemy's fear of you has always been louder than your confidence in yourself. But that ends now. This final signal is not just a call to remember you are being summoned to return, to walk in the fullness of who you are. No more shrinking. No more delays. No more wondering if you were really called. The evidence is in your scars. The proof is in your survival. The very fact that you're still standing is confirmation. This world needs what you carry. The pain you went through wasn't just for you. It was a furnace, a consecration. The crushing didn't destroy you. It extracted oil. And now heaven is saying, rise and pour, because time is short. The hour is late. The clock is counting down. You have felt this urgency before. In your sleep, in random moments of stillness, you felt that tug in your chest. That unshakable call that tells you something massive is coming and you have a role to play. You've tried to explain it, tried to suppress it, even tried to ignore it. But it keeps returning. Stronger, louder, clearer. That's not your imagination. That's your spirit being summoned back into position. You are not too old, not too broken, not too far behind. God is not looking for perfect vessels. He is looking for yielded ones. And yours is the vessel he's been waiting for. Every trial you survived was training. Every betrayal was preparation. Every delay was refinement. You are not late. You are right on time for this final move. Heaven is not just watching your journey. It has been tracking your every step. Angels have been dispatched. Doors have been aligned. A remnant is waiting for your yes. You are not stepping into destiny alone. There is an army rising alongside you, those who have also been marked, molded, and now mobilized. The pain, the isolation, the spiritual battles, they were all part of the same process. God was not punishing you. He was setting you apart for something pure, for something holy, for something eternal. You were never rejected. You were selected. Paul reminds us in Ephesians 2, "Sure, for we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." You weren't created just to exist. You were created to impact, and not later now. There is a sound coming from heaven, a prophetic vibration shaking the earth. Those who are sensitive in spirit are beginning to feel it. It is calling the chosen out of hiding, out of distraction, out of spiritual amnesia. You are being awakened, and once your eyes are open, you can't go back to sleep. Don't look at your past. Don't measure yourself by what you failed to accomplish. You are not who you were last year. You are not who pain tried to make you. You are who heaven says you are. And that identity is not fragile. It is forged in fire. You are royal. You are righteous. You are redeemed. And you are ready. Heaven is speaking. Hell is trembling. The earth is groaning. And your name is being called Chosen One. Have you noticed? The battle intensifies right before a birthing. Every time you're on the edge of breakthrough, it seems like everything crashes down. Emotions spiral. Distractions multiply. And confusion clouds your vision. That is not a coincidence. That's spiritual warfare. That's a final attempt by the enemy to keep you from stepping into what was written for you before time began. The resistance is confirmation. The chaos is a clue. And your survival, your endurance, is the receipt. You've cried over closed doors and misunderstood seasons. But listen, God was not punishing you. He was protecting His oil in you. You are rare. You are heavy with divine weight. And heavy things take time to prepare. You weren't. Denid, you were preserved. And now, the moment is upon you. You are standing in the intersection of what tried to kill you and what you're about to give life to. That's why the pressure has been so intense. Because your calling is not small. You don't just carry purpose, you carry prophetic assignment. That's why hell couldn't ignore you. You were targeted because you are lethal to darkness. And here's what most don't tell you. Obedience is not always loud. Sometimes it's that quiet, yes, in the dark. That internal, I'm still here, when everything in you wants to give up. That silent refusal to quit, when nothing makes sense. That is the obedience heaven honors. That is the obedience that shifts atmospheres. As Psalm 18:39 declares, "You armed me with strength for battle. You humbled my adversaries before me." That strength isn't coming. It's already inside you. You just haven't had the full chance to unleash it. But now, you will. Because the signal has been released. The veil is thinning. And heaven is calling you to stand. You are no longer in training, you are in transition. From obscurity to visibility. From pain to purpose. From surviving to leading. And the question now is not, are you worthy? But will you obey? God is looking for action, not perfection. For surrender, not excuses. Delay is expensive. And you've already paid a high price. The spiritual clock is not waiting for your confidence, it's waiting for your commitment. So here's what you must understand. If you do not move now, what has been ripening in the spirit may begin to rot in waiting. And not because it was wrong, but because it missed its moment. The window is still open, but it will not stay open forever. This is the kind of divine intersection that only comes a few times in one's life. And for the chosen, it often comes quietly wrapped in fire, wrapped in weight, wrapped in responsibility. Will you answer it? You're not being asked to feel brave. You're being asked to move forward. Despidefiar. Your obedience will break chains in people you haven't even met yet. Your yes will set things in motion that generations will benefit from. You've asked God for a sign. You've begged Him for clarity. But this moment, this message is the signal. And what you do in this window will speak for you in eternity. Some will ignore this and go back to sleep spiritually. But you can't. You know too much. You've seen too much. You felt too much. There is no going back for the chosen, only forward. There's a ripple effect waiting to be activated through your life. The Spirit is hovering, waiting on your movement. And as you step into obedience, doors will swing open that you didn't even knock on. Resources will be released. Angels will go before you. But only after your first step. You've been waiting on confirmation. Heaven's been waiting on your movement. You don't need another dream, another sign, another prophetic word. You need to believe the one you already carry, because faith without action is a dead fire. And your fire is needed now, urgently, fully. You carry something holy, something raw, something sacred, and the world is starving for what you've been hiding. It's time to pour. Even if you feel empty, God will fill you as you move. The river doesn't start flowing until you touch the water. You were not born to remain safe. You were born to shake nations. And if you let fear keep you quiet, your destiny will speak in silence, reminding you of what could have been if only you had moved. If your spirit knows this word is yours, drop a declaration in the comments. Type, I'm stepping in, not just to be seen, not for applause, but because heaven is waiting, and you're done running from yourself. Your time is not coming. It's here. You've been hidden, but never forgotten. In fact, your entire life has been a study in divine concealment. Every door that closed, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, every season of silence, it was all part of a divine hiding. And in your hiding, heaven was working. People assumed you were finished. They looked at your stillness and called it stagnation. They looked at your silence and called it failure. But they didn't know what God knew, that He was forming you in the secret place, that He was shielding you until the appointed time. The world saw inactivity. God saw incubation. God doesn't expose what hasn't been fortified. And you, chosen one, were never meant to be rushed. What you carry is heavy. What's been placed inside of you is sacred. And sacred things are always hidden before they are revealed. Even Jesus went through it, before the miracles, before the crowds, before the cross. He was in Nazareth, uncelebrated, unnoticed. 30 years of silence, 3 years of ministry. The hiding always lasts longer than the revealing, but the hiding isn't punishment, it's preparation. You see, heaven doesn't launch immature voices. It waits until the root is deep enough, the foundation strong enough, the oil crushed enough. And that's where you've been beneath the surface, in the tension, in the shadows, but not forgotten. Your name has been spoken in rooms you've never entered, Your presence has been felt in dimensions you've never walked in, because the anointing on your life echoes louder than your physical arrival. The spirit realm knows who you are. That's why the warfare found you early. That's why discouragement tried to chain itself to your chest. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still believing, still walking though limping, still standing though scarred. You've endured the silence that others couldn't survive. You've held on when even your prayers seemed to return void. And yet, your faith persisted. Quiet, resolute, stubborn, holy. There is something God can do with that kind of faith. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that doesn't need signs. The kind that believes in the dark what He promised in the light. You carry that faith, and that's why He's kept you. Psalm 27:5 declares, "For in the day of trouble He will keep me safe in His dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of His sacred tent." That's exactly what He's been doing with you, hiding you in holiness, covering you in silence, until the time. And now the time is shifting. The veil that has covered you is being lifted, not by your effort, but by divine timing. The seasons are aligning. The hidden things are being revealed. And what once looked like delay is about to be redefined as protection. Some people thought you were finished, but God was just getting started. They thought the silence was your end, but heaven was writing your beginning. Because real callings don't start on platforms, they start in pain. Real mantles aren't given in the spotlight, they're formed in secret. That's why you had to walk the path you did. And that's why you can't despise the quiet seasons. They weren't wasted. They were weighty. You learned to pray without needing an answer. You learned to trust without evidence. You learned to worship without an audience. And now, you are not fragile. You are forged. Everything you lost in the hidden years God saw. Every tear, every lonely night, every door that should have opened, but didn't. He recorded it. None of it was in vain. It was divine arithmetic. The subtraction was always a setup for supernatural multiplication. The people who left were never meant to carry the next chapter. The places that rejected you weren't qualified to host what God placed in you. Even your own doubts, the times you nearly walked away, were all part of the stretching, the forming, the sanctification. Now, when you enter your revealing, you won't just have gifting, you'll have gravity. When you speak, you won't just make noise, you'll shift things. When you walk, you won't just take steps, you'll take territory. Why? Because you've been in the shadows with God. You've been hidden in glory, and those who are hidden in glory are revealed in fire. There will be no need to announce yourself, no need to promote your arrival. Heaven will do the lifting. God will do the revealing, because when the time is right, He brings the hidden into view, not for their sake, but for His glory. You're not stepping out to be seen. You're stepping out because the assignment can no longer wait. There are souls connected to your yes. There are cities tied to your voice. There are chains that only your obedience will break. So if you've ever felt overlooked, passed over, invisible, know this. God saw every moment. And He's the one who says, "I will lift up the humble. I will exalt them in due time." The time is shifting. The hidden ones are rising. And you, yes, you are among them. There's a sound in the Spirit that only the chosen can hear. It's not loud in the natural, but your spirit feels it. A pressure, a weight, a divine pull you can't explain. It's because heaven has just released the final signal, and only those who've been marked will respond. You've felt it before in your dreams, in the sudden conviction that grabs your chest, in the holy urgency that keeps you awake at night. You've been sensing it, even when you couldn't put it into words. Now you know why. The final instruction has gone out, and this time, your response changes everything. This is not a general broadcast. This is a divine alert. The last wave of instruction before the separation becomes permanent. It's not about church. It's not about religion. It's about alignment. Heaven is dividing the ready from the rebellious, the surrendered from the stubborn, the chosen from the curious. You have been brought to this exact moment to decide, not to delay. Heaven has already extended mercy longer than expected. The oil is already being poured. The time of casual belief is over. The fire is coming, and only the pure will carry it. Some will dismiss this as another message, but those who are aligned will hear the alarm in their spirit. They'll recognize the voice inside the voice that calls your name in the spirit, the voice that has followed you since childhood, whispering, "There's more, there is," and it's on the other side of your obedience. When the children of Israel wandered the wilderness, they weren't being punished, they were being processed. But when the cloud moved, those who delayed were left behind. The signal was their cue to move. And now, chosen one, the signal is yours. You've wandered long enough. You've asked enough. You've wrestled enough. The cloud is moving. What does that look like in your life? For some, it's walking away from sin. For others, it's stepping into leadership. For others, still, it's opening your mouth and declaring what God placed inside you. Whatever it is, delayed, obedience is still disobedience. And the time for hesitation is over. You carry too much glory to stay in hiding. You've survived too many storms to stay in silence. You've come through too much fire to keep waiting for another confirmation. This is the confirmation. This is the trumpet. And now, heaven is watching for your movement. Isaiah 60:1 calls it clearly. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Not someone else, not the ones with the platform. You, your light, your assignment, your moment. Don't let this signal pass you by. There is no backup plan, no extended timeline. The signal won't be repeated like yesterday's prophecy. This is the last warning before the shift becomes irreversible. And yes, that sounds intense because it is. The weight of glory always carries the price of obedience. You've asked for more. Now the more is knocking. Will you open the door? Will you stop questioning and start moving? Will you trade comfort for calling? Some may still be unsure, still counting the cost, still wondering, what if I'm wrong? But let me tell you, obedience never fails. Even when it costs you, it covers you. Even when it stretches you, it strengthens you. Even when it breaks you, it births something eternal. So move. And if this word has struck your spirit like thunder, then share it. Don't scroll past the very thing God told you to listen to. Someone else needs this fire. Someone else needs your boldness to spark their own. Your share might be the signal that wakes up another chosen one. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, because heaven is pouring out instruction, and only the aligned will be able to hear what's coming next. Subscribing is more than staying connected. It's positioning your spirit under a steady flow of prophetic clarity. This isn't just content. This is consecration. It's alignment. It's equipping. And if this word has blessed you deeply, consider sowing into what you just received. Giving isn't about transaction. It's about honor. When you sow into the anointing, you don't just receive, you anchor what was spoken into the soil of your life. You say with your seed, "This word wasn't entertainment. It was encounter. There is a remnant rising, and you are part of it." We are not building platforms. We are igniting altars. This is a movement of the hidden, the hungry, the holy. And your presence here is not passive. You are a pillar in what God is doing next. So take a moment. Reflect. Pray. Share. Subscribe. So, do it not out of hype, but out of honor. Because something sacred has just passed through your spirit, don't let it slip away like another scroll. God is watching your response. He's not looking for the loudest. He's not watching for the most talented. He's watching for the ones who move, the ones who obey when no one's clapping, the ones who recognize the sound of heaven when it passes by. You're not behind. You're right on time for the signal that changes everything. Chosen one. Listen closely. This is not just another message. This is a divine echo, stretching from eternity into your present moment. The urgency in your spirit is not anxiety, it's alignment. Your soul is picking up frequencies from heaven, and they are telling you what your flesh is too distracted to hear. The hour is late, and time is collapsing into divine decision. There's no more buffer season, no more room for compromise, no more grace for delay. What you're feeling is not panic, it's prophetic tension. A spiritual countdown has begun, and you can feel the pull of destiny grabbing your ribcage. The enemy has lied to you, trying to convince you that you have time, that tomorrow is an option. But let me tell you, delay is not safe anymore. The longer you hesitate, the heavier the cost becomes. Not just for you, but for those tied to your obedience. We don't always realize that obedience is generational, that your yes unlocks doors not just for your life, but for your bloodline, for your region, for your city. There are mantles hovering above you, waiting for your surrender to make them fall. This isn't emotional hype, it's heaven's warning. Hebrews 3:15 says, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Notice the word, today, not next week, not once you're more prepared, not when it's more convenient. Today. Heaven does not play with its final signals. When God begins to withdraw conviction, it is not cruelty, it's judgment. When he stops nudging, it's because he's shifting. And some people don't realize they've crossed from delay into danger until it's too late. Don't let that be you. You have no idea what's on the other side of this decision. You've been feeling stuck. But in reality, you've just been spiritually paused, waiting for your obedience to unlock the next phase. God doesn't release destiny into disobedience. He releases it into surrender. Your next step isn't clarity. It's obedience. And let's be honest, you already know what to do. God has been repeating it for months. Through dreams, through people, through whispers in the middle of the night. The instructions haven't changed. Your posture has. This is not the hour to play safe. This is the hour to move. No more half obedience. No more delayed repentance. No more spiritual apathy disguised as waiting on confirmation. Heaven has confirmed it already. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, know this. Conviction is a gift. It means the door is still open. It means mercy is still hovering. It means you haven't been turned over to blindness. But that door is creaking, and it won't stay open much longer. Let every fear break now. Let every doubt crumble. You've been chosen. You've been summoned. And you've been warned. Your yes is the key. And the longer you keep it locked in silence, the more you'll feel the tension. That heaviness you've been carrying isn't depression, it's deferred destiny. And deferred destiny always creates spiritual pressure. But obedience releases it. This is your release point. This is the moment everything changes if you let it. Don't you dare go back to casual. Don't you dare scroll away and pretend your spirit didn't shake during this word. God is watching, not your emotion, but your decision. Don't miss your visitation. You've waited long enough. You've carried long enough. You've questioned long enough. The time for wondering is over. The time for walking has come. Your obedience will open what prayer alone could not. Because obedience is louder than any prayer you could pray. It speaks directly to the gates of heaven and shouts, I'm ready. So if you've read this far, and your spirit is trembling, acknowledge the moment. Comment, 444. Let heaven and earth see it. Let your own soul mark it. You're not standing in a moment, you're standing in a mandate. You carry what cannot be replaced. There are anointings in this generation that are widespread, giftings that can be admired, and talents that can be taught. But what you carry is none of those. What is upon your life is not transferable, not duplicable, and not reproducible. It is a heavenly blueprint embedded in your spiritual DNA. It cannot be cloned, and it will not be passed to another unless you forfeit it. You've been feeling a weight, and sometimes you've mistaken it for weakness. But what you feel pressing on your chest, what you've described as heaviness or fatigue, is actually the gravity of your calling trying to get your attention. Heaven doesn't place unnecessary weight on anyone. God only allows you to feel pressure when you've been assigned to carry power. There is a specific sound in your voice that no one else can release. There is a territory in the spirit that only you've been authorized to enter. There are people whose breakthrough is tied not to your presence, but to your obedience. And this is why the fight has been personal. Because the enemy knows, if you ever walk in the full weight of what you carry, hell has a problem. This is why distraction has become relentless. This is why temptation has intensified. Not because you're weak, but because you're close. Close to clarity. Close to manifestation. Close to alignment. And the enemy's last weapon isn't destruction, it's diversion. If he can't kill you, he'll try to confuse you. If he can't trap you in sin, he'll trap you in circles of delay, making you question your worth until you surrender the assignment. But the assignment remains, whether or not you feel ready, whether or not others believe in you. The mandate on your life hasn't been revoked. It hasn't been paused. It hasn't been watered down. It's still active, still pressing against the borders of your daily life, waiting to be released. Romans 29 makes it clear. For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. That means the calling doesn't expire, and the gift doesn't retract itself. Even in your doubt, it's still present. Even in your failure, it still breathes. Even in your lowest valley, it still whispers, you were born for this. And some of you have tried to give it back. You've said, God, pick someone else. You've tried to run, tried to hide behind, not yet, and I'm not ready, hoping the burden would lift. But it hasn't. Because it's not a burden, it's a birthright. Heaven chose you not because you were perfect, but because you were willing, and willingness matters more than readiness. Willingness tells heaven, even if I don't know how, I'll still say yes. You don't need credentials to carry fire. You don't need applause to release glory. All you need is surrender. Raw, unpolished, inconvenient surrender. The kind that says, I'll go where others won't. I'll do what's uncomfortable. I'll carry what others drop. You were designed for hard things. That's why you survived what should have crushed you. That's why you endured what silenced others. You have been built in adversity, fashioned in affliction, and now refined in reverence. The weight you carry is proof of that. You've been entrusted with revelation others can't handle. You've been given insight that can't be explained, only imparted, and the moment you stop trying to make others understand, and instead start moving in obedience, is the moment everything shifts. You don't owe this world an explanation. You owe God your yes, and your yes is louder than you think. When you say yes, the atmosphere around you changes. Spiritual doors open, resources realign, people begin to shift. Why? Because heaven responds to alignment. When a chosen one comes into agreement with their calling, the earth has to make room. You're not in the way, you're the one sent to clear the way. There is no backup you. There is no alternate version of this plan. If you don't walk in it, something will go undone. Something will remain locked that only your voice could have opened. That is the responsibility of the chosen, and it is holy. You were not created to drift through life. You were created to carry legacy. There are altars waiting to be built by your hands. There are mantles hovering above you, looking for a place to rest. There is a roar inside your ribcage waiting to be released, not in emotional hype, but in spiritual authority. But you cannot carry it while also carrying compromise. You cannot hold fire and flirt with distractions. This season is not about balance, it's about consecration. The higher the calling, the deeper the death to self, the heavier the oil, the costlier the crush. But what is birthed in that crushing cannot be shaken. You are being prepared for visibility, not for fame, but for function. To be a voice when others are silent, to be a bridge when others walk away, to carry answers in a time when questions are louder than faith. But before that happens, you must say yes without conditions. Not yes if it's easy. Not yes if they support me. But yes, even if I have to walk alone, even if it costs me everything, even if I don't see the full picture. That kind of yes is rare. That kind of yes moves heaven. And you, chosen one, are being summoned into it. Hell has targeted you personally. And not because of who you are right now, but because of who you're becoming. Before you ever walked in your calling, darkness detected your presence. Before you ever prayed your first real prayer, the enemy marked you as dangerous. Because you weren't just born, you were sent. And hell knows the difference. You have felt it all your life, haven't you? That strange tension, that opposition, that always seemed a little too precise, a little too cruel, a little too early. People around you coasted through life, but you faced resistance before you even understood what you carried. You were attacked for being too quiet, too loud, too different, too intense. You were misunderstood, misused, and misjudged, and none of it was coincidence. It was strategy, because darkness doesn't wait until you rise to attack. It tries to destroy you in seed form. Before the vision is clear, before the oil flows freely, before you know how to fight back, because that is when you're most vulnerable and most likely to quit. But you didn't quit. You absorbed blow after blow. You endured betrayal, endured isolation, endured ridicule. You walked through seasons that should have left you bitter, should have left you broken, but instead they carved out something in you that's unshakable. You may have doubted your value, but hell never did. That's why the war against you was so relentless. John 10:10 reminds us, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy." That is not a random attack pattern. That's a blueprint. A coordinated effort to strip you of joy, sabotage your identity, and suffocate your purpose. And yet, here you are, still chosen, still burning, still rising, and the enemy can't do anything about it. He threw sickness at you. He threw shame. He sent people to mock you, to discourage you, to mislead you. He planted fear in your mind, doubt in your prayers, delay in your steps. And even when you wavered, even when you wondered if you were crazy for believing, you didn't walk away. That's because something in you is greater than anything formed against you. Something eternal, something unkillable, something divine. The targeting wasn't random. It was surgical. Precision warfare against your identity. The enemy wasn't afraid of your past. He was terrified of your future. He saw the light coming long before you did. That's why temptation was tailor-made for your weakness. That's why deception came dressed like comfort. It was designed to disarm you before you realized what was at stake. But now you know. Now you see clearly. You're not just someone trying to figure out life. You are heaven's answer to a demonic problem. You are a threat, not in potential, but in position. The moment you come into full agreement with what God has placed on you, the war shifts. You're no longer just defending ground, you start taking it. You are stepping into revelation. The awareness that you were born to war and win, that your survival wasn't accidental, it was ancestral. You were carried by the prayers of those before you, and now you carry the responsibility to push forward what they couldn't finish. You are the one hell hoped would quit, but you didn't. And now the tables are turning. This season is not about staying safe. It's about becoming dangerous. To complacency, to compromise, to every system of darkness that has been allowed to run unchecked. You were born to confront it, not with arrogance, but with authority, not with noise, but with weight. The weapons against you were real, but none of them were final. Isaiah 54:17 says it plainly. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. It didn't say they wouldn't form, it said they wouldn't work. That includes emotional weapons, mental weapons, financial, relational, spiritual weapons. They might have wounded, but they didn't win. And that's what hell hates most. That you bled, but didn't break. That you wept, but still worshipped. That you lost people, but never lost your posture. You are becoming what the enemy feared all along, fully awake, fully aware, fully engaged. No longer questioning your worth, no longer asking permission, no longer walking around with your head down, hoping not to be seen. You are rising now, and every step is thunder to the gates of hell. You are a walking contradiction to the plans of darkness, a living interruption to cycles that have lasted for generations. You are the breaker, the one who ends what should have continued, the one who says, "It stops with me." So, no, this isn't over. It's just beginning, and hell is not ready. You've been delayed, but never denial. There's a difference. Delay feels like failure when you don't understand the timing of heaven. But God is not working by your watch, He's working by your weight. And sometimes, what you carry is so heavy, so potent, so sacred, that God will delay the delivery until the ground can hold what's coming. You thought the waiting was punishment. You cried through nights, asking God what you did wrong. But what if you did everything right? What if the silence wasn't rejection, but protection? Not every delay is demonic. Some delays are divine. You were not waiting on breakthrough. Breakthrough was waiting on you. Waiting on your posture. Waiting on your surrender. Waiting on the version of you that could steward the blessing without it becoming an idol. Because gifts given too early can become chains. And God loves you too much to give you what will crush you. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're right on schedule for a release that only the refined can carry. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord." This isn't passive waiting. This is active war. Waiting while worshipping. Waiting while preparing. Waiting while still believing, when nothing makes sense. You've been building in the dark, learning, shifting, breaking, healing. No one saw it, but God did. He watched you show up when no one clapped. He saw you serve when no one noticed. He heard your prayers when your voice trembled from fatigue. And He took notes. Heaven records everything. Nothing has been wasted. Not the tears. Not the isolation. Not even the failed attempts. It was all practice. All stretching. All part of the blueprint. And now, the delay has done its job. You're stronger now. Clearer. Deeper. You can handle what's coming, because you've already handled what tried to stop it. This next season will not resemble the last. The wilderness is over. The pause is ending. The time of proving is giving way to the time of revealing. And not because God changed His mind, but because you didn't change your yes. It would have been easier to walk away, to quit silently and pretend the calling wasn't real. But you stayed. You endured. And now, heaven is moving on your behalf. The people who forgot you will be surprised. The doors that denied you will open without knocking. The opportunities that once mocked your name will now call for you. And not because you hustled, but because you were hidden in obedience. This is the power of divine delay. It makes sure your spirit is as deep as your destiny is wide. And that's why you were delayed, so that you would not self-destruct in success. God delayed the relationship until you healed. God delayed the influence until your identity was rooted. God delayed the exposure until your ego died. Because He's not after quick rise, He's after eternal fruit. And eternal fruit only grows through slow, deep roots. You are rooted now, not in fear, not in people's approval, but in God's voice alone. And that means you're ready. So let the delay be seen for what it was. Mercy, not denial, not punishment, but mercy. And let every mocking voice fall silent. The ones who said you were washed up. The ones who whispered, "Where is your God now?" The ones who measured your calling by your current visibility. They didn't know you were in divine incubation. They didn't know. Resurrection always starts with silence. They didn't know delay is where the dangerous ones are formed. But now, they'll see. Not because you need to prove them wrong, but because God is about to prove Himself faithful. What you carry is coming forth. Comment: "It's my time because the delay was never denial. And I am ready to walk in what heaven wrote for me." Crown or curse. Choose this day. This is not poetic. This is not symbolic. This is the moment of spiritual separation. There is no middle ground anymore. The line has been drawn in the unseen realm, and heaven is watching to see where you stand. Your next step is not just a decision, it's a declaration. God has been patient. He has waited as you wrestled. He has extended grace through your doubt. He has whispered through your distractions. But now the whisper has become a trumpet, and that sound cannot be ignored. You are not being asked to feel qualified. You are being asked to choose. This is the Joshua 24:15 moment of your life. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Not tomorrow, not next week. This day, there is a crown prepared with your name etched into its gold. But that crown cannot rest on a head still bowed to fear, still bowed to compromise, still bowed to the world's opinions. You cannot wear glory and guilt at the same time. You cannot carry fire and flirt with the flesh. The crown requires clean hands, a yielded heart, a yes that costs something. Some will reject this word because it demands too much. But you feel it. The pull in your chest, the burn in your belly, the trembling in your bones. That's heaven confirming it's your time, that the crown is being extended, that the cost is heavy, but the reward is eternal. You can't delay anymore. The spiritual window is closing. The oil is being distributed. The final instructions are being released. If you don't step in now, it may not look the same later. And that's not fear, it's reality. The curse is not a lightning strike. It's a silence that settles over the rebellious, a fog that comes upon the one who refuses to move. It's not loud, it's quiet. It's not dramatic, it's subtle. One day, they no longer hear clearly. They no longer feel the pull. They no longer sense urgency. That's how judgment often begins, not with thunder, but with indifference. You must choose, and let your choice echo in how you walk, how you speak, how you lead, how you surrender. The crown is not symbolic, it's supernatural. It's authority in the realm of the spirit. It's influence with weight, and the enemy knows it. That's why distraction has risen. That's why warfare has surged. Because if you ever take your place, hell's gates tremble. Revelation 3:11 declares, hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. That warning wasn't to the rebellious, it was to the chosen. That means it's possible to lose what was meant for you, not because God changed his mind, but because you didn't respond in time. Your delay doesn't cancel your calling, but it can forfeit the season. And you know you can't afford to lose another one. So what do you do with this word? You make a move, not just spiritually, but practically. You align every part of your life with the voice of God. You stop hiding, stop minimizing, stop waiting for someone to affirm what God already anointed. You walk, you move, you decide. And as you do, share this word. Not because it needs to go viral, but because someone else is at the same crossroads. Someone else is standing between crown and curse. And your boldness might be the fire they need to wake up. Don't let fear make you silent. Don't let convenience shut your mouth. If this word is shaking your spirit, share it. Post it. Text it. Echo it. This is not entertainment. This is an alarm. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Stay aligned. Stay connected. What's coming next is heavier, sharper, deeper, and you won't want to miss it. Subscribing is not just about following, it's about positioning, staying under the cloud, staying in the sound. If this message has marked you, if you've been blessed by the weight of it, consider giving, not as payment, but as honor, as agreement, as covenant. When you sow into sacred ground, you declare, this word isn't just heard, it's planted. And God multiplies planted things. You're not giving to a person. You're anchoring your yes in the ground where the fire fell. Because you've come too far to walk away now. This is it. No more pretending. No more pushing the moment away. Heaven has placed the crown in front of you. Hell has already planned its response. Now the only question is, will you choose? Divine recall. Come forth. Now. There are moments in heaven's timeline when God stops calling generally and starts summoning specifically. He stops addressing the crowd and begins naming individuals in the spirit. You felt it, haven't you? That shift in the air, that whisper in the night that sounds less like suggestion and more like summoning. This is one of those moments. You are being recalled, not because you failed, not because you've been forgotten, but because heaven's timing has reached the point where your presence is required. You've gone through the fire. You've sat in the silence. You've passed through what should have disqualified you. And yet, your name still echoes in the throne room. Your delay did not erase your destiny. God is calling you forth not to start over, but to resume what was always written. Your story is not being rewritten, it's being reactivated. That's what recall is. It's heaven's way of saying, the mission still stands, the assignment still waits, and your role has not been given to another. You have not missed your window. You have not been replaced. You have not been cast aside. The pain didn't void the purpose. The mistakes didn't cancel the mantle. What was spoken over you still breathes in the spirit, and now it's time to come forth. Lazarus was called from a grave, but not until Jesus stood at the edge and said, "Come out." That wasn't just resurrection, it was recall. And that's what this moment is. You've been buried under life, under loss, under disappointment. But the grave was never your final destination. The voice of your Savior is summoning you now. You will not stay stuck. You will not stay numb. You will not stay silent. You are coming forth not just to be seen, but to be seated. There is a place with your name on it, a mantle with your size alone, a door that recognizes your sound. No one else can occupy what was built for your obedience. And maybe you've disqualified yourself. Maybe you've said, "I'm too late. I messed up too much. I walked too far." But divine recall doesn't ask for permission. It overrules your failure with purpose. It overrides your shame with glory. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It declares that you are. Romans 8:30 reminds us, those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified. That means the call is not a question, it's a sequence. And you are in it. Right now, you may not have clarity. You may still feel raw. But raw is ready in the eyes of God. What matters is not your perfection, but your posture. And your posture, if you're honest, has already begun to shift. You feel it in your chest, in your spirit, in the way this very word is landing. It's not just encouragement, it's recognition. Your spirit is responding before your mind can catch up. Because spirits know their time, they know their season. And your spirit knows it's time to come forth. This is not about status. This is about stewardship. It's not about being visible. It's about being valuable to the kingdom. You may never be known by crowds, but in the spirit, your name carries weight. And when you walk into alignment, angels are dispatched. Chains break. Territories shake. You are not weak. You are weary. And there's a difference. Weary means you've been fighting. It means you didn't quit. It means you pressed through with faith that had no fuel. And for that, heaven honors you. Now, the strength is coming. Strength in your bones. Clarity in your mind. Fire in your voice. The very parts of you that felt empty will now be filled with purpose again. Not new purpose, the same purpose. The original one. The one you've always carried, but forgot how to hold. The one that got buried under disappointment, under delay, under heartbreak. That purpose is being resurrected now. And when you rise, don't apologize. Don't explain. Don't downplay. You've been called forth, and you will move as one who has been refined by fire, not broken by it. You are stepping into territory that's already been promised land, that's been waiting for your footstep, rooms that have been waiting for your voice. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to wait for approval. You were meant to carry heaven's sound into places saturated with silence. And now, the sound is returning to your lungs. The fire is returning to your bones. The mantle is yours. Come forth. Confirmation by fire. That's what this moment is. Not just a message. Not just a word to inspire or challenge, but a supernatural confirmation stamped in fire, sealed in your spirit, and now rising like holy smoke from the altar of your heart. This isn't emotionalism. This is not content. This is divine interruption. You've walked through long stretches of uncertainty. You've wrestled with your calling in the silence, asking if you were making it up, if maybe you were too ambitious, too flawed, too inconsistent to truly be chosen. And still, something burned. A whisper in your chest that wouldn't die, even when hope did. That whisper was fire. You didn't imagine in your assignment. You weren't wrong when you sensed there was more. And no, your past didn't cancel what God said. Your mistakes didn't erase what heaven wrote. You've been walking through the furnace, not to be destroyed, but to be confirmed. The confirmation you've been begging for hasn't come through applause. It hasn't come through affirmation from people. It hasn't even come through outward signs. It has come in the fire. Fire strips away pretense. Fire reveals what's real. Fire confirms what religion cannot. Just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you've walked through a season where everything burned around you, but you didn't bow. You didn't fold. And now, just like them, you are emerging without the smell of smoke, but with the presence of another in the fire. That fourth man, Jesus, didn't remove the furnace. He joined you in it. That's how you know you're chosen. Not because you avoided the fire, but because you survived it and still carry the flame. Jeremiah 20:9 says, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones." That's what you feel right now. That trembling in your chest. That ache that has no words. That heavy stillness. It's confirmation. God's way of saying, I still want you. I still called you. I still have use for you. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are not second string. You are confirmed. This moment is holy. Because this kind of fire doesn't just warm you, it brands you. It marks you for what comes next. It cannot be undone. It cannot be shaken. You'll never be able to return to normal after this. And that's the point. You weren't made for normal. You were made for glory. This fire is prophetic. It will follow you into places you haven't even dreamed of yet. It will speak for you when your words fail. It will stir gifts in others just by your presence. Because this isn't just a personal encounter, it's an equipping. You've been crying out for God to use you. And now He's answering not with more words, but with confirmation through consecration. The flame on your life is the evidence of your future. But hear this clearly. Fire is not just for moments. It is for movement. You're not meant to contain it. You're meant to carry it. You're meant to walk into dark places and shift atmospheres, to step into generational cycles and break them open with your testimony, to light up places where others have only brought shadows. This is why the enemy tried so hard to make you quit, to get you so entangled in confusion that you wouldn't notice the fire building. But it's too late now. You've already seen too much, felt too much, heard too much. You've been branded by the Spirit. Now you move with authority, not just passion. You speak with power, not just volume. Your words will cut through noise because they were forged in the furnace of silence. This is not hype. This is heaven. You'll walk into rooms and not need an introduction. Your presence will carry something that causes the atmosphere to shift, because the fire you've received is not ceremonial. It is functional. It burns with assignment, with mandate, with weight. And there will be times when you doubt again, when circumstances shake. But this moment, this fire will be your anchor. You will return to this confirmation. And remember, God chose you. And no devil in hell can argue with what was confirmed in flame. You didn't go through all that for nothing. You didn't weep, war, and wait just to go back to wandering. You've been confirmed, marked, released. So let the fire fall. Let it consume everything that doesn't belong. Let it illuminate every step forward. Let it be known in the spirit realm. The one the enemy tried to silence is now burning. Comment 333. If this fire just confirmed your next move, your identity, and your surrender, don't miss the visitation. There are windows in the Spirit that don't come often, moments where heaven leans close, where eternity brushes against time, and the presence of God is near enough to feel it in your bones. These aren't daily occurrences, they are divine appointments. And you've just stepped into one. Visitation is different from presence. Presence is constant. God is always with us. But visitation carries a weight, a sharpness, a unique clarity. It's when God arrives with purpose, with instructions, with release. It's when the scroll of your life is opened and you're invited to read what was written before the world began. You are in one of those moments, not because of emotion, not because of environment, but because of alignment. Something in your life has reached heaven's timing. The waiting, the preparation, the breaking, the isolation. It has all brought you to this specific point in God's timeline. Not a second too soon, not a moment too late. In Luke 19, Jesus weeps over Jerusalem, not because of their sin, but because they missed their moment. You did not recognize the time of your visitation. He says, that verse is a warning, not just a lament. It tells us something sacred. You can be in the right place and still miss your moment. Not because God didn't show up, but because you weren't ready to receive. Visitation doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It invites it. And if you're too distracted, too bitter, too anchored in delay, you can walk right past a divine encounter thinking it's just another day. But this isn't just another day. This is holy ground. You can sense it in your spirit. The trembling, the clarity, the divine interruption to your routine. God is not just near, He's drawing near for a reason. To hand you something, to impart, to unlock. Visitation carries a cost. It requires response. You can't experience it and stay the same. You either soften or harden. You either surrender or resist. But you don't walk away unaffected. And that's why it's dangerous to treat sacred moments casually, because you are now accountable for what you've received. This moment is weighty, not just because of what it offers, but because of what it demands. God has come close to release something through you. Not just to you. You are not the end goal. Obedience is. Alignment is. The impact is beyond your comfort zone, beyond your circle. This visitation is generational. That's why the warfare increased. That's why the distractions multiplied. That's why suddenly you began to question what you had already been sure of. Because hell saw the window opening and launched a last-ditch effort to cloud your focus. But it failed. You're here. You're present. And heaven is watching. You don't need to perform. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to respond. With stillness. With reverence. With that internal shift that says, I know this is not normal. This is why you couldn't quit. Why you couldn't sleep. Why? The conviction returned stronger than ever. Because the time of visitation has come, and when heaven visits, everything must adjust. Everything must bow. You may not feel qualified. That's fine. God didn't come looking for qualified. He came looking for available. He doesn't pour fire into perfect vessels. He pours into yielded ones. And you, though weary, are ready. The cost of missing it is too high, because this visitation carries with it strategies for the next season, clarity for the next move, healing for the lingering wounds, and above all, the awareness of who you truly are. You cannot leave this moment the same. You've waited for it. You've longed for it. Now it's here. Don't rush. Don't overthink. Don't analyze your way out of awe. Just breathe. Listen. Honor it. Because one visitation from God can undo years of confusion, years of pain, years of fear, and can release in seconds what your striving could never achieve. You are not standing in information, you are standing in invitation. To walk in fullness, to step into your rightful place, to receive what was always yours. And heaven will not shout this again. The moment is here. Don't miss it. Wounded, but still chosen. You've carried the kind of pain that language fails to express, the kind that sits quietly in the soul, that walks with you into rooms, that lingers behind your smile. Not many know the full weight of what you've borne. You've worn strength like armor and moved through your days as if nothing inside you was breaking. But God saw every moment of it. He saw the nights you cried without sound, the mornings you got up without motivation, the prayers that had no words, just groans. He saw the betrayal that stole your breath, the disappointments that aged your soul, the dreams that died quietly in your hands. And He never turned away. You see, being chosen doesn't mean you're exempt from pain. In fact, it means you're likely to walk through more of it. Why? Because glory is heavy. Because carrying light in a dark world demands depth. And depth only comes through wounding. You've been wounded, not because you were weak, but because you were weighty. You've been targeted, not because you were unworthy, but because you carried too much value to go unchallenged. And every hit you've taken, every scar you've earned, has been recorded in heaven not as failure, but as evidence. Isaiah 53:5 says of Christ, "He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. Even the Savior's anointing came through affliction." So what makes you think your oil would come any other way? You've bled quietly. You've suffered honorably. And though some tried to label you based on your limp, they couldn't see that you were limping from the fight you won. People often misjudge the wounded. They think you're broken because you bleed, but God sees the other side of your scars. He sees the endurance, the obedience in silence, the forgiveness in secret, the grace you extended even when you were bleeding internally. You are a walking contradiction. Wounded, yet chosen. Scarred, yet sacred. Tired, yet trusted. You've survived battles that others never knew existed. Not just external wars, but internal ones. The war to keep believing. The war to keep praying. The war to keep showing up when quitting seemed like the easier option. And through it all, you never fully bowed to bitterness. That is why you are trusted. Not because you've never been hurt, but because you never let the hurt steal your worship. You never let the betrayal change your character. You never let the silence drown your surrender. God is not looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for authentic ones. And nothing authentic is unscarred. The pain didn't disqualify you. It prepared you. You were forged in rejection, shaped in obscurity, refined in heartbreak. And what emerged is a vessel that can hold weight without leaking. You didn't crack under pressure, you deepened. And now your wounds are no longer just evidence of survival. They are credentials for leadership, because no one can lead effectively without first bleeding quietly. Your wounds have made you more merciful. Your pain has made you more discerning. Your endurance has given you authority that no classroom or platform ever could. There's a reason God didn't let certain people walk with you. There's a reason He allowed you to be isolated. Because not everyone could be trusted with your process. Some would have misinterpreted it. Others would have tried to fix what God was still forming. You weren't being punished. You were being processed. You were being taken into the deep places. The places where oil is made. The places where prayers aren't poetic but raw. The places where obedience doesn't look like victory, it looks like surrender with no explanation. And still, you obeyed. Still, you stayed. Still, you kept walking with wounds others couldn't even see. So don't hide your scars. Don't silence your story. Don't shrink from your shadow. You've been through too much to pretend you're untouched. The world doesn't need a sanitized version of your calling. It needs the real one. The one born in fire. The one clothed in scars. The one that limps with anointing. You are not disqualified. You are not defective. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and your wounds are part of the evidence. A final call to the remnant. Not everyone will understand what this moment is. Not everyone was meant to. This isn't a general invitation. It's a final call. One last trumpet to the few who've been hidden, broken, and refined in silence. The remnant. The ones who never fit in. The ones who weren't celebrated in rooms they served. The ones who carried the flame even when it flickered low. You've known for a long time that you weren't like the rest. You've felt it in the way you process pain, in the way you perceive people, in the way your soul reacts to the presence of God. You've moved through life with an awareness others didn't carry. That wasn't your imagination. That was identity. God didn't make you strange. He made you separate. You are part of a remnant, a holy company reserved for the end. A generation marked not by perfection, but by perseverance. A people who worship in the wilderness, prophesy in the dark, and still wait with oil in hand, even when the delay feels eternal. But now the wait is ending. There is a shift happening in the spirit, and the remnant is being summoned, not to be seen, but to stand, not to chase platforms, but to carry presence, not to argue doctrine, but to embody fire. You were never meant to watch the revival, you were meant to be the revival. Ezekiel 9:4 gives us a glimpse of the remnant's marking. Go throughout the city of Jerusalem and put a mark on the foreheads of those who grieve and lament. This was not a mark of prestige, it was a mark of preservation. While judgment swept the land, the marked ones were covered, because, in a world growing cold, their hearts still burned. That's you. You've grieved over what others tolerated. You've lamented compromise while others celebrated it. You've hungered for holiness in a time when it's mocked. And because of that, God has marked you, not with ink, but with intercession, not with symbols, but with surrender. But here's the truth. Being remnant is costly. It costs relationships. It costs comfort. It costs the luxury of blending in. Because the remnant doesn't follow trends, they follow truth. They aren't popular, they're prophetic. They don't shift with culture, they confront it. And now that cost is increasing. This is not the hour for passive faith. This is the moment where the marked must move, where the chosen must rise, where the ones with scars and silence in their history must finally take their place. This is your place. And you're not stepping into it alone. There are others scattered, yet burning in their corners of the world, waiting for confirmation that they're not alone. This is that confirmation. You are not the only one. There's a remnant rising. There's a generation unbending, and they're waiting for your voice, for your obedience, for your fire. Don't underestimate your role. This isn't about status or reach. This is about weight in the spirit. Some of the most dangerous people in hell's eyes have no titles, no following, and no applause. But they shake atmospheres when they pray. They birth deliverance in silence. They tear down strongholds without recognition. That's who God is calling now. The forgotten ones, the passed over, the faithful few. He's not raising up another crowd, he's gathering his remnant. And if this word strikes your spirit, you already know you're one of them. So take your place. Stand tall in the spirit. Let the years of hiddenness become the fuel for your commissioning. Let every tear you wept in secret become a river of power. Let every scar become a symbol of your authority. You are not stepping into a spotlight. You are stepping into your function. The world may never applaud you, but heaven already has. And if this word has lit something inside you, don't let it sit quietly. Share it, not out of obligation, but because someone else is wandering in silence, needing the exact same confirmation. Someone else is chosen and weary, marked and misunderstood. This may be the message that pulls them back from the edge. So, share with boldness. Let the remnant find one another. And if this has been your word, subscribe to stay in the flow. Not for content, but for consecration. The messages ahead aren't for the curious. They're for the committed, for those who don't just want fire, they carry it. And if you feel led to give in faith. Not to support a brand, but to honor the altar. What you sow into, you activate. This is holy ground. Let your seed say, I am remnant. I'm not here by accident. I take this call seriously. Comment, I'm remnant, if your soul knows this word has been written for you. Heaven's clock is at 00. Not in metaphor, not in hyperbole, but in the spirit. This is the final second, the edge of decision, the breath before breakthrough or blindness, the sacred space where mercy lingers just a moment longer, waiting for your response. There are times when God speaks softly over long seasons, giving you room to wrestle, to question, to grow. But there also comes a time when the softness ends and the stillness becomes thunder. When heaven doesn't whisper, it warns. When delay turns from grace into danger, you are in that time. You can feel it. The way things have shifted. The way spiritual sensitivity has intensified. The way everything in you senses that something is either about to be birthed or broken. That is not your imagination. That is alignment. God is not in a rush, but He is moving, and His movement is precise. What is unfolding now is strategic, appointed, prepared long ago. You're not watching time tick, you're watching prophecy move. And prophecy never waits for comfort zones. You're being required to choose in motion, to say yes without full clarity, to move even when you don't feel ready. Because the call isn't to understanding, it's to obedience. And obedience is always required in real time. You've heard the phrase, God is never late. True. But what they forget to say is, you can be. Because while God's purposes will not fail, your participation in them is time-sensitive. Missed obedience doesn't cancel God's will, it removes your role in it. That is the danger of delay. Jesus wept over Jerusalem not just because they sinned, but because they did not recognize the time of their visitation. They missed the moment. They heard the words, they saw the signs, but their response was slow, casual, distracted, and they missed it. You don't need more signs. You don't need another message. You've received enough light to move. And that's the tension when God shifts from revelation to expectation, when He stops repeating Himself and starts requiring results. That's where you are now. You are not being threatened. You are being warned. In love, in clarity, in finality, because God disciplines those He loves. And He never raises a chosen one without confrontation. Before the promise, there is always the pause, the moment where your heart is weighed, where your response is watched, and what you do now will echo into your future. Because mercy is not indefinite. The open window does not last forever. When Noah built the ark, he preached while the sun still shone. He warned while the skies were still clear. But there came a day when the door closed, not by Noah's hand, but by God's. That door stayed shut. No matter the screams, no matter the regret, no matter the sudden belief. Because judgment doesn't wait for comfort, it responds to heaven's schedule. And if you ignore heaven long enough, heaven stops speaking. That is the weight of this moment. The final second is ticking. You are being asked to choose with eternity in view. Not just your calling, but your posture. Not just your ministry, but your surrender. Not just your desire, but your direction. Because where you're headed in the Spirit is more important than what you say with your lips. God is watching not just your prayer life, but your pattern. The question is not whether God is moving. The question is, will you move with Him? Or will you freeze? Waiting for a comfort that won't come, a sign that's already passed, a confirmation that was whispered weeks ago. There is no more time to waste. You are standing in the second before the shut door, one decision away from either walking in divine fullness or falling into spiritual fog. Not because God is cruel, but because God is just, And justice doesn't bend for indecision. It's not that you're being left behind. It's that you're being asked to finally step forward. Everything in your life has been building toward this. Every wound, every whisper, every delay, every breakthrough, every night you wanted to quit, every morning you decided not to. It all led here, to now, to O0E, to the decision that cannot be postponed. This is your line in the sand, your invitation into the irreversible. Not pressure, but precision. Not fear, but fire. Not shame, but separation. What happens next depends not on what you feel, but on what you choose. The final second waits. The chosen rise or vanish. There is no more space between, no more lukewarm lanes to walk, no more halfway hearts. The days of hesitation are over, and the days of holy clarity have begun. The line has been drawn, and what happens now separates the remembered from the forgotten. This is the moment when the chosen either rise into their assignment or vanish into the background of disobedience. There is no third option. Destiny does not wait for doubt to dissolve. It moves forward with the willing, and you've known this deep inside you. The tension you've felt isn't confusion, it's a spiritual push, a summons, a final pull from heaven, pressing you out of silence, calling you to cross over from observation into action. And that pull is not going away. It's intensifying, because the window is almost gone. Some were called, but never moved. Others were marked, but never answered. But you've survived too much to disappear now. God didn't preserve you through fire just for you to retreat in fear. He didn't walk with you through years of pain just to let you vanish when it matters most. Everything you've walked through was preparing you to stand at this line. And now the line is not metaphorical, it's spiritual, eternal, final. Heaven is watching who will rise, and not just in title or talent, but in truth. Who will carry what they've been given with humility? Who will bear the weight of assignment without becoming crushed by ego or culture? Who will serve when there's no spotlight? Who will declare the truth when there's no applause? This is not a call to be seen. This is a call to stand. And those who rise must rise with reverence, with fear of the Lord in their bones, with fire in their voice, with clarity in their steps, because those who carry light in these days will be attacked, but they will also be protected. Psalm 91:14 says, "Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him, I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name." That promise isn't for the passive, it's for the aligned, for the chosen, for the ones who dare to step out of the boat when others are still calculating risk. You cannot delay your rise. Not after this. Not after all that's been poured into your spirit. Not after all you've felt in these past moments. This word is not a seed. It's a door. And doors are not for collecting. They are for crossing. Heaven is closing in on delay. This is not a future opportunity. This is the fork in the road. This is the place where stories change, where bloodlines are redirected, where prophetic legacy is either born or buried. You must decide. To rise does not mean to become perfect. It means to become present, to step in fully, to stop excusing yourself from the work that your life was designed to fulfill, to stop questioning what God has already confirmed. Those who vanish will vanish slowly. They won't even realize it at first. But something will fade. The conviction, the fire, the sensitivity to God's movement. They will look alive but be hollow inside, because they walked away from the voice and still hoped to carry the weight. But those who rise, They will carry a glory that isn't loud, but it's lethal. Their mere presence will unsettle darkness. Their obedience will release others. Their surrender will speak louder than sermons, and their lives will echo in eternity. You are not at the end of a message. You are at the beginning of a mandate. From this moment forward, your steps are either a response to God's voice or a retreat from His timing. There is no neutral, only obedience or oblivion. But the grace is still here for a second longer. Rise, not to be great, but because the greatness of God chose to dwell in you. Rise, not because it's easy, but because your yes carries deliverance for people you haven't even met yet. Rise, because the heavens have spoken, the signal has been released, and the chosen either rise or vanish. You've reached the end of the message, but not the end of your story. What you've just encountered wasn't a script. It was a summons, a divine interruption designed to shake the dust off your purpose, to reignite the flame of your calling, and to remind your soul that you are not like the rest. You never were. You are marked. You are chosen. You are summoned. Let this not be another word that stirs you momentarily and fades by morning. Let this be the hinge on which your entire life swings into divine alignment. Let this be the beginning of a new rhythm, one of obedience, surrender, and holy boldness. You were not called to scroll. You were called to step forward. If this word lit something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, subscribe to stay aligned with future releases. There is more ahead, sharper words, deeper truths, fresh instruction, and the ones who stay connected will stay positioned. And if you feel the weight of this moment in your spirit, consider sowing into this work, not out of obligation, but as an act of agreement. When you plant into fire, the fire multiplies. Giving is not about transaction, it's about covenant. It says, this word was not entertainment, it was encounter. And lastly, let heaven see your response. Comment below with a simple declaration that your spirit is standing up and stepping in. A few words, a sentence, a symbol of your yes, because something eternal has passed between heaven and your soul. You've heard the call. Now, walk in it.